been entertaining each other for several months, and as much fun as that is, it's a lot better to have other folks groan at our jokes and smile at our silliness. So thanks for coming. And it's our great pleasure to be here at our favorite place to play, which is the Whidbey Island Center for the Arts, and on the Michael Nutt main stage.
Of course, this is the Michael that we all knew and loved. For those who may be here didn't know who Michael was, he moved to the island in 1995 with his wife Diane after 30 years in the LA Philharmonic. And he came over from England when he was in his 20s at some point. And so we had him here 13 years, and he was he was an artist, an activist, and a real friend of this community for all that time. He was instrumental in getting Wicca funded and built in the first place, and then also with the expansion that's just now coming about. So we wanted to write a song about him for some time, and the inspiration, just waiting for the inspiration. And it came last year when Paul Matthews, another local fellow, he wrote me and said we should check out the group called the Hoosier Hot Shots, a group that played in the 30s and 40s. They were a little like us, that kind of humorous songs, a wacky delivery, and excellent musicians. And we figured that two out of three was going to work for us. And they're famous in those years for their song called "From the Indies to the Andes in His Undies." It has what I consider a couple of the greatest lines ever written. Is that for a spare he brought an extra pair of panties, but they didn't fit him well. They were his aunties. So the fortuitous part of this song is it's about a hero named Otto Zilch. And when I heard that, I heard Michael Nutt. So we borrowed that melody and kind of the spirit of that song to write this kind of lighthearted song about Michael. So this is the Michael that we remember the most. And this next slide shows one that we never met. That's Michael, about 19 years old. And he was in England at the time and starting to be in competitions and getting some renown as a violinist. And this next shot shows also in England. He's in the group of musicians down in the lower left there. Those are Morris dancers he's playing for, and you can see the vintage of the cars there. And Diane, his wife, tells me that that pub there was hundreds of years old at that time, and it still is hundreds of years old. So Michael came over, and he started out as a session musician in LA, and he came over mostly for the sun, but also to play music. And then he got a contact through that work and got invited to play with the Philharmonic on a tour they're going, and then stuck with them for 30 years. This next shot is some of the a notable event for him. This is signed. It's to Michael, the best country fiddler in the LA Phil, from Hank Mancini. The story is that they were playing a whole show of Henry Mancini's in the Hollywood Bowl, about 18,000 people, and apparently one of his movies had a fiddle tune, and they pulled Michael forward to play the fiddle tune, and it brought the house down, and Michael was kind of taken aback and went back to his seat, and Mancini pulled him out and made him take another bow. The next night, Michael was out there and he was ready for it, and as soon as everybody starts going wild, he was waving his fiddle up in the air, and he was soaking it up. And then this next shot, I think, is Michael interviewing to become the third of the three tenors. It didn't work out well for him. But they were playing a show there for the three tenors, backing them up one time. Kind of a fun shot. And this next one that's his wife Diane. And this is, all artists have their periods, and this is Michael's curly period. And going on now is, Michael was used, even then he was a good fundraiser. Known in this community for being a heck of a fundraiser, and apparently they sent him out. He was quite the ladies' man, and especially to the ladies' auxiliaries, and he was able to raise a lot of money that way. And here, these are some admiring fans. You see his effect on women most of his life. And the next shot, Oh, yes, this is, Michael, I'm sure would say that this is a photo of two old buzzards, but it's really a photo of one old buzzard and a young eagle. And Michael had an affinity for music, certainly did, for animals. And this is one of two eagles that he apparently helped rehabilitate that had been thrown out of its nest at Jim and Paula Pugh's house here in Langley. And the next shot I threw in just because he's so handsome now. This was apparently another period of Michael. I don't know which period that was, but he played lots of different kinds of music. And this final shot we have for you, this is a group when he was in England. He's in the middle there. He's Slim Weston of the Smoky Mountain Boys. And it was on the BBC. They played weekly, and he wrote a new piece of music every week for that show for a number of years. So we're going to leave that up as we play this tune that we wrote for Michael. Well, from England to the LA Philharmonic, where orchestral parts are often polyphonic. It was a musical immigration, how ironic. That's a very, very Michael thing to do. He was born December 5th, so not a Libra. His entire life he never rode a zebra, but he always had that certain joie de vivre. That's a very, very Michael thing to do. Michael Nutt. He's a hero for the ages, Michael Nutt. His enthusiasm was contagious. Well, he wore on stage a very fine tuxedo, kept his body fit and his libido. For charity, he stripped down to his Speedo. That's a very, very Michael thing to do. Mostly Michael played the violin, though he bowed a country fiddle now and then. In fact, the line between the two was often thin. That's a very, very Michael thing to do. Oh, Michael Nutt. Though he came from jolly England, we're so glad that he ended up on Whidbey Island. He formed the Saratoga Chamber Players. Sophisticated music, many layers. With Diane, they saved the woods from the surveyors. That's a very, very Michael thing to do. And he built an English pub out in the lobby. Poured the pints himself, it was a hobby.
Quite a hobby.
When he left at night, he walked a little wobbly.
That's a very, very Michael thing to do. Michael Nutt.
He got fresh, but never rotten. On this stage, he will never be forgotten. Backstage, he always acted rather chummy. He liked us because he thought that we were funny, but mostly because we raised a lot of money. And that's a very, very Michael thing to do. That's a very, very Michael thing to do.
Well, we're real happy to be back here in Langley by the Sea.